So I wanted to make this video to talk about the difficulties that someone coming from a Christian upbringing may have to overcome or face when transitioning into a pagan or magical practice. This is typically the programming received from their parents and society. Now, this is particularly for those who were raised in a fundamental Christian household where it is common belief that the Bible is the literal word of God and is often viewed as absolute fact. Because even though you may have made the conscious decision that you do not believe this and are venturing onto your own path, chances are your subconscious mind has absorbed years of programming. This includes years of being told that you will burn in hell for eternity. And depending on the details of your upbringing, some individuals may have more difficulty moving past this ingrained fear than others. So, having been raised in the southern United States myself and having announced my newfound beliefs to my parents at the age of 14, there were a number of issues that I had to overcome within myself. A lot of these issues originate from being told your entire life that your immortal soul will burn in hell for all eternity. As a child, I attended many church sessions where this threat echoed and was repeated. I watched as these churches ingrained this fear into children. I remember as a child myself, after having told my parents of my newfound beliefs, my father instructed me to place my hand into fire so that I may get used to the burning as I would spend eternity in hell. So, between the church instilling fear into youth and parents reinforcing this fear into their children, those seeking to leave behind the Abrahamic traditions often have a lot of difficulty when starting out. So, this fear is the first thing that one beginning in the practice of witchcraft, magic, or the start of a spiritual path that's removed from the Abrahamic traditions has to overcome. I also believe this fear is one of the reasons or the primary cause that we see a lot of, quote, Christian witches. It is also my belief that Christianity was originally intended to be a mystery tradition, similar to the mystery traditions of ancient Greece. However, that's a talk for another time. So, how can you overcome this ingrained fear? In short, it takes time and it will not happen overnight or quickly. In a sense, you have to reprogram your subconscious mind and the way it thinks. Oftentimes, this can take an entire lifetime to accomplish, but I'm going to share some tips that helped me overcome this problem within my life. I've also already shared a little of my story to show the type of psychological programming that I had endured at an early age. The first thing that I found very helpful comes from Paul Huson's book, Mastering Witchcraft. Now, this book is a classic and was originally published in 1970, and since then it has been re-released and currently available now. Paul gives instructions in reciting the Lord's Prayer in reverse, giving a phonetic pronunciation to help with this. I know this may sound sacrilegious, however, if you are serious on removing yourself from the influences of the Abrahamic traditions, I do strongly recommend this. While reciting the Lord's Prayer in reverse, you visualize shackles around your wrists and ankles being struck by lightning and falling to the ground, freeing you from the bonds. I found this to have a very strong psychological impact. Depending on where you are in your studies, you may approach this with fear that you will be struck down. However, I can attest that this is not the case. And when completed, I for one felt a sense of relief. Now also, due to the feeling that this simple rite is sacrilegious, it also creates a sort of no turning back point. I'll also put a link to Paul Huson's book, Mastering Witchcraft, right here, and I'll also link it down in the description below. Now that you have begun to overcome that fear, you should, if you haven't already, begin studying philosophy. Learn the history of the tradition that you wish to follow. Learn about the fundamental teachings of those individuals who shaped the tradition itself. This will give you a foundation in which to build your tradition. This is something that I find is lacking in many neo-pagan and New Age traditions. Now, for those interested in following a more Hellenic path, I would recommend reading On the Gods in the World by Celestius. This work is sort of a introduction or a catechism, if you will, into Neoplatonic philosophy. Now, another way to help get past this fear, and probably the overall greatest method of combating this, is to begin a prayer practice. A small devotional prayer every day, giving offerings to the deities you choose to worship. This will have tremendous effects within your life. This may also lead you to having a mystical experience, which will cause any lingering doubt to simply fade away. I've mentioned in other videos the importance of having a daily practice, and a simple prayer cycle that you can perform daily is truly essential. I'll make a video in the future to share my personal devotion. You may also write out prayers to your gods for daily events, such as before meals or before bed. This is a way of changing the focus of habits that you may have already been accustomed to doing, as well as making your gods a part of your daily life. Now, I know a lot of people have a certain stigma around the word prayer, so I will make a future video specifically for prayer within Hellenism and other pagan traditions. However, for the time being, understand that prayer is not exclusive to Christianity. Prayer can also be used by anyone. So I mentioned the term mystical experience, so let me explain a little bit on this. This could be a dream, or it could be something that comes to you during meditation. There's no way to say exactly how or if this will happen. This is typically referred to as UPG, unverified personal gnosis. I will say that oftentimes you may not realize the gods at work within your life at the time, and it is only after things have worked out that you look back and realize the influence that was around you. So a couple of experiences from within my own practice in my own life. The first came in the form of a dream. And in this dream, Dionysus appeared and freed me from shackles. After doing so, he looked me in the eyes and asked, "Do you know who I am?" And I immediately teared up and responded, "Patetus," which is Greek for father. Now, this was one of those dreams where you wake up and you remember how vivid and how detailed the dream was, and how it felt you were actually there in the physical world. So fast forward a few years, things became uncertain within my life, and while I was in an emotional state, I was listening to a specific song before going into a supermarket. After entering the supermarket, I turned onto an aisle and encountered a random subject singing the exact same song that I had been listening to. It is important to note that the song is not from a mainstream band, and I don't believe it ever had radio time, nor do I know anyone else who is familiar with them. For those of you interested, that song is Rise by State of Mind. Now, this subject complimented my t-shirt, smiled, and walked away, still singing the same song. Now, there are some minor, small details that I'm not going to share about that experience, but I had immediately recognized the influence of Dionysus within my life at that moment and knew I was exactly where I needed to be. So, going back to topic, when you first start out, you will probably feel alone and secluded from everyone. However, if you are able to find others within your area, this will help you. Not so much as the form of practice, but to associate with them as a support for each other. If this is not possible, there is a plethora of online groups that can act as this support. One such online group is listed in the description below, which is the Agora on Discord. So I'm going to wrap this video up at this point. If there's anything you would like to add, please comment down below. As I've already said, the Discord link is in the description. There's a Facebook group as well. Check out the blog at echoesfrometernity.com. And if you create a free account, there's additional content, and there's also a members forum. There's also an Android app associated with the website, link in description. And you can also find me on Facebook myself. All links are in the description. So please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell notification so you know when new videos are uploaded, and consider sharing this video to help the channel grow. And I'll see you in the next video.